Okay, welcome to a new webinar of OpenNebula. We've been doing this webinar randomly in the last couple of years. We started with the pandemic, with the COVID situation, and we have a nice bunch of webinars over the last couple of years. This year we have the last one about Kubernetes back in March this year. And we are returning to having new webinars. So basically, yeah, this is what we have, the OpenNebula webinar series. We talk about technology, we talk about features, implementations, and ideally, we will be talking more frequently, one webinar per month. We will be announcing the next webinar about monitoring for next month, and then we will have another one about VMware migration. So stay tuned for new webinars announcing. But before leave to the floor to Victor to explain what is Ansible and how to improve your cloud automation, we will be doing. I'm going to be doing a brief intro to what is OpenNebula, even though that probably most of you know or are using or are familiar with OpenNebula. Perhaps you need to. This could be a nice refresh of concepts. So, well, basically, OpenNebula, it's a virtualization platform, an open source virtualization platform that unlocks the power of a multi-cloud platform by combining edge, public, hosted, and private cloud operations. We use resources, or we can offer, or we offer on-demand resources with infrastructure from third-party public clouds and bare metal providers like AWS, Equinix Metal. So you have a good variation of services, and we want to avoid vendor lock-in, as we always say. And on top of that, you can use virtual machines, containers, or Kubernetes, which is the big thing right now, apparently, Kubernetes. And this is basically, this is basically the interface that we have right now. We have FireEdge and one provider, Samsung, and one provider. On one provider, you can select the services, the resources, the providers that you have here in a more easy way. And we are working on improving the interface at this point. So for the version 7.0, you will see a lot of improvements on that area. At least that's what the technical department told me about, and I'm supposed to say it. So yeah, feel free to make comments on the forum for that. And like I say before, OpenNebula is a simple open source solution to build and manage enterprise cloud that combines existing virtualization technologies with advanced features for multi-tenancy, automatic provision, and elasticity in order to offer on-demand virtualized services and applications. OpenNebula integrates multiple types of virtualization technologies, so you can meet different workload needs. And in some cases, you will be using VMware, OpenNebula on top of VMware. We have a good managing of that. And in some cases, you will be using LXD containers, or like we have now Firecracker micro VMs, which is very useful for the micro VMs for Firecracker. And like I say, the OpenNebula interface, it's intended for both end users and administrators. That simplifies the technical management of all OpenNebula resources. OpenNebula is integrated with third-party tools like Terraform, Docker Hub, Docker Machine, Ansible, Kubernetes. And in this case, our webinar for today, it's about Ansible and how to create automations for your cloud environment. So I'm going to welcome Victor Palma, one of our technicians at the OpenNebula team. Welcome, Victor. And
hello.
Yeah, basically, we will be talking about how OpenNebula offers a good automation process. So I will leave the floor to you, Victor,
Thank you.
and the users can make, the attendees can make your questions on the chat on YouTube. So feel free to ask your questions and we will be replying when appears. Okay. So all yours, Victor. Let me share your screen and I'm going to leave it.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Frank, for the intro. As Frank said, deploying OpenNebula involves setting up various components, configuring them correctly, and ensuring they work seamlessly together. Traditionally, this process could be time-consuming and error-prone, but this is where OneDeploy comes into play. A set of Ansible playbooks and rules that let you to deploy an OpenNebula cloud in a simple and convenient way. Ansible is an automation tool that simplifies configuration management and application deployment. And Ansible are playbooks, um, are scripts that define a set of tasks to be performed, making it ideal for automating tasks like deploying OpenNebula. And this is how OneDeploy works. So as I said, OneDeploy is just a set of playbooks in Ansible that allows you to deploy and configure OpenNebula automatically. In this webinar, we are going to explore how it works and how to use it. The main features of OneDeploy are, as I already mentioned, as I already said, it's a set of playbooks in Ansible that will allow us to run automation to deploy OpenNebula. As they are Ansible playbooks, you can use it directly with the Ansible playbook command or include the playbooks in your own workflows. It is fully customizable, not only because of the different variables that OneDeploy offers us predefined to configure, but also because it's an open project. So later in this webinar, we will see how these playbooks are built so you can modify them and even make a pull request if you want to share your implementation with the community. So in the slide, you can see the public repository where you can find the source code of OneDeploy. If you want to contribute to the project, you are more than welcome. The result of running these sets of playbooks is fully functional OpenNebula installation. So you can deploy VMs, build Kubernetes clusters, or configure users and groups as needed. In the case of Kubernetes, if you are interested in how it integrates with OpenNebula, we have a previous webinar that I recommend you to check out. Finally, thanks to OneDeploy, we can deploy different types of deployments according to our needs, with different types of storage or with a series of previously configured networks. This point will also be discussed in the following slides. So first, let's start with the basics. What components are part of OneDeploy? Like in any Ansible playbook, we have mainly two components. The first one is a playbook where all the tasks we are going to perform are included, and the second one, an inventory where all the variables and data associated with our infrastructure are included. So in this file will be where we will modify these values that OneDeploy will use to deploy OpenNebula. Once our playbook and inventory are configured, the only requirement is to be able to access via SSH to the host we are going to configure. So once the process is finished, we will have an OpenNebula installation ready to use. Well, let's take a closer look at how to create our inventory. In the following example, we can see different sections. The first one is a set of variables that define general aspects of OpenNebula installation to be performed. The Ansible playbook installs a complete suite of OpenNebula services, including the base daemons, that's it, 1D and the scheduler, the OpenNebula Flow, the OpenNebula Gate services, and the Sandstone's web UI. You can just select the OpenNebula versions to install and pick a password for one admin, as you can see in the slide. The second section that we have is a definition of data stories and networks to create in our infrastructure. The third one is a set of features that we can active in our cloud. The Sandstone server can be deployed as systemd service, that is OpenNebula Sandstone, or on top of the Fusion Passengers module that Apache use. In this case, we are using the Fusion Passengers. And finally, we have the host on which the tasks are going to be performed, separated by two categories, frontend and hypervisors nodes. Let's take a closer look at each section so we can understand more deeply. Well, the first section, as I said before, is the main variables that OneDeploy use. This is just a summary of the most important ones, but I recommend you to take a look at all the variables available in the wiki repository of the project. Some of these variables are Ansible user, that is the user who is to access to the infrastructure, the one version, the OpenNebula version that you are going to install, the one password, the one FKDN, that is the fully qualified domain name of the OpenNebula instance, the public FireEdge endpoint, that will be the base URL over which an user can access the OpenNebula web UI. And finally, we have the node HV, that is the hypervisor to set up on the nodes. Currently, OneDeploy only support QEMU or KVM. You can use one of them based on your needs. So let's see how to configure the data stories. For example, here is the configuration for a local data store. Virtual disk images are stored in local storage. So with the frontend hosting an image repository, these images are then transferred from the frontend to the hypervisor to establish the virtual machines. Both the frontend and hypervisors use the directory var-lib1 data stories to store this image. So if you have more doubts about this, you can check the official OpenNebula documentation where this is described. So it's possible to either use the root file system for the directory or a sibling if you want from any other location. In case you want to use a dedicated volume mount in a custom location, for example, MNT1 data story is default, then you need to pre-create these directories for each data store and use the following snippet that you can see in the slide. Will cause symlinks to be created automatically by OneDeploy. The next one is for shared storage. So the same can be configured for a shared storage, where the storage is shared among all the hypervisor nodes. For this, keep in mind that such shared storage must already be configured to work. Once this is done, you can add the mount points as shown in the slide. Next, let's see how to add networks configured in OpenNebula using the inventory variables. The most basic network configuration is a bridge network. We will use the main host interface to connect the VMs to the network. So the interfaces used in this mode are shown in this image. And please note that the playbook requires netplan on the network manager to be present on the host to perform the initial configuration. If not, it's gonna go into fail. But it's one of the requirements of the OneDeploy. So to create the virtual networks for the VMs, you need to grab some IPs. These IPs addresses must be accessible through the network used by the main host interface, as the traffic from the VMs will be forwarded through it. Here you can see a snippet that shows how to define a virtual network using some IPs on the admin network. So this is the one used by the host. So The VM is going to connect to the virtual network that is connected to the physical device of the host. Well, and last but not least, we have the host on which we are going to perform the Ansible task. In this case, it's as simple as separating the host into categories, front-end and nodes. Each section should contain the associated hosts. For example, in this snippet, you can see that we have a single front-end and 2 key VM nodes set up. And for the HA configuration, it's as simple as adding more hosts to the front section. It's easy as that. So OneDeploy will take care of configuring all the frontends in H8 mode. So in case if it finds more than one host, it's in the frontend list, OneDeploy is going to configure all the hosts all the frontend in H8 mode. So, well, we have now we are going to see how to use this tool. Having reviewed all the inventory configuration, let's see how to put it into practice. First, as I indicated at the beginning of this presentation, we can access the source code in the project's repository, so we have to clone the GitHub repository first. Second, we have to install the dependencies with Ansible Galaxy tool. It's only required to execute this command, Ansible Galaxy collection installed -r requirements.yaml. And third, we create inventory following the indication that we have seen previously. Finally, we can execute the playbook as any normal playbook, adding our inventory, and that's it. It's very easy to use. So having seen all this, it's time for demo. So let's see a practical example. So, oh, sorry. Here you can see all the code of the OneDeploy repository. So you can find all the roles that OneDeploy use, some example inventory that you can use as template for your own deployments, or even you can find some requirements in case you use some functionalities that OneDeploy also integrates, like Prometheus or Grafana, that you can install with OneDeploy too. So let's take a look, for example, to the repository role. So if you can take a look at this code, you can see that it's a normal Ansible role that uses the inventory variables that you put in the inventory and replace them with a Jinja 2 template. So in this way, OneDeploy can create on the fly a lot of different raw Ansible files that you can use in your deployments. We can see here an example of a playbook that use the OneDeploy playbooks. It's very easy. You can have your own playbooks, for example, for upgrade packages in your host, and then import the OpenNebula OneDeploy playbooks, and then, well, do some final tuning with your own roles or with community roles, anything that you want. And finally, you will have a OpenNebula installation ready to use. We can see here also an example of a full inventory with a lot of variables, such one version, one pass, the domain name, the hypervisor that we are using, the endpoints, some virtual networks definition, the data store definitions, some features that we are including in this deployment, like Apache, the front end, the nodes, etc. So since running these playbooks can take about 15 minutes or 20 minutes, depends or your network speed. I have the environment already up and running with OneDeploy, so we are going to take a look at it. So we have here, this environment is running an app by OneDeploy, so we can log in to environment with the same passwords that we put in the inventory. And here we are. It's a fully functional OpenNebula installation. So we can, for example, go to the infrastructure that we have, see all the hosts that we define in the inventory templates. It's fully functional. We have seen here that it has been monitored. We can also go to the OpenNebula Open Public Marketplace and load some image, for example, this one. The data stories are also configured, so we can download it. Go to the templates and instantiate it as a usual VM. So we have here the VM. It's in Prolog and it's booting and it's running. It's perfect functional. We can also connect via VNC to the VM and it's also works. So everything is fine. So that's it. Thank you for your attention. So all yours, Frank.
Cool. Nice to see it. And this definitely very simple and manageable. So yeah, thanks for showing how to implement and how to apply this automation. I'm gonna take this from here. Yeah, basically, thanks, Victor. In any case, you will be around here for any questions that appears on the chat. And thanks again. See you next time. And for the people still here with us, thanks for attending. Thanks for watching this webinar. I have to make a little bit of promotion and use the new OpenNebula version, download the new version. We are working on, well, I say I'm working, but I'm not. So I'm not working on that deployment development, but I need to say that we are working as an OpenNebula. We are working to implement new features and the new version. The new one is 6.6 Electra. I don't know if we are going to name the 7.0 in one way, or I will try to involve the community to bring some names. So feel free to watch the forum that we have in OpenNebula.io. Feel free, like I said before, to make your questions over the chat here in YouTube. You need to have an account on Google, so that's the only thing. But if you don't want to use the Google YouTube chat, you can send the question to the forum. Right now, forum.opennebula.io. We are maintaining, basically, we're maintaining with Victor this forum. So we are super proud to have it very active lately. And yeah, basically that's it. The next webinar that we have scheduled, it's for the 18th of October. We'll be announcing, if not this week, because we are doing other stuff as well, but if not this week, next week, we'll be announcing and sending the communications to register for the new webinar. It's going to be about monitoring. Mainly on Prometheus use, basically, but we will be touching a lot of Grafana. So if you are into monitoring and not necessarily this is a webinar for OpenNebula users, but if you're into monitoring, feel free to jump in to watch it, because it's going to be super interesting. I already prepared some of the stuff with the speaker that will be participating from the Grafana Labs. So I'm super happy that it's going to be super interesting. So don't miss it. And that's it. A short webinar, but super intense and super concrete on how to make your automation works in a more fluid way, thanks to the Ansible Playbooks. We also have, I don't know if Victor mentioned, but we also have the repo on GitHub. So if you want to collaborate, you can do it there as well. So thanks a lot. Thanks for watching us, and see you in less than a month. Bye-bye.